Hold on. We are recording. Welcome everybody to No Beard Shakespeare's production of The Tempest. Everyone, give a little wave. Yay, there are all the names. See you on stage. The Tempest. Act 1, Scene 1. A tempestuous noise of thunder and lightning heard as a ship dips and sways in the storm. Enter boatswain with mariners frantically tending to the ship.
My hearts, taking the topsail, tend to the master's whistle, blow till thou burst thy wind, if room enough.
Good boatswain, have care. Where's the master?
Do you hear him? You mar our labor. Keep your cabins. You do assist the storm.
Nay, good, be patient.
When the sea is hence. What cares these roarers for the name of king? To cabin, silence.
Good.
Not
Yet remember whom thou hast aboard.
none that I more love than myself. You are a counselor. If you can command these elements to silence and work the peace of the present, we will not hand a rope more. Use your authority. If you cannot, give thanks you have lived so long and make yourself ready in your cabin for the mischance of an hour, if it so hap. Cheerily, good hearts, out of our way, I say.
I have great comfort from this fellow. Methinks he hath no drowning mark upon him. His complexion is perfect gallows. Stand fast, good fate, to his hanging. If he be not born to be hanged, our case is miserable.
Down with the topmast! Yeah, lower! A plague upon this howling. They are louder than the weather or our office. Yet again, what do you here? Have you a mind to think?
Ox on your throat, you bawling, blasphemous, incharitable dog.
Work you, then.
We are less afraid to be drowned than thou art.
I'll warrant him for drowning.
Mayor, a hold. A hold.
Oh, the king and prince at prayers. Let's assist them, for our case is as theirs.
The ship splits, a confused noise within. Mercy on us, we split. Farewell, my wife and children. Farewell, brother, we split.
Let's all sink with the king.
Let's take leave of him.
The wills above be done, but I would fain die a dry death.
Act 1, Scene 2, still storming. Enter Prospero and Miranda on the shore of an island.
If by your art, my dearest father, you have put the wild waters in this roar, allay them. The sky, it seems, would pour down stinking pitch, but that the sea, mounting to the welcome cheek, dashes the fire out. Oh, I have suffered with those that I saw suffer. A brave vessel who had no doubt some noble creature in her, dashed all to pieces. Oh, the cry did knock against my very heart. Poor souls, they perished.
Be collected. No more amazement. Tell your piteous heart there's no harm done.
Oh, woe the day!
No harm. I have done nothing but in care of thee, dear one, thee, my daughter, who art ignorant of what thou art, not knowing of whence I am, nor that I am more better than Prospero, master of a poor cell, and thy no greater father.
More to know did never meddle with my thoughts.
'Tis time I should inform thee farther. Lend thy hand and pluck my magic garment from me. So, lie there, my art. Why thou wipe thou thine eyes? Have comfort. The dire spectacle of the rack, which touched the very virtue of compassion in thee, I have with such provision in mine art, so safely ordered that there is no soul, no, not so much perdition as an hair betide any creature in the vessel which thou heardst cry, which thou sawst sink. Sit down, for thou must now no farther.
You have often begun to tell me what I am, but stopped, concluding, stay, not yet.
The hour's now come. The very minute bids thee ope thine ear, obey, and be attentive. Canst thou remember a time before we came unto this cell? I think thou canst, for then thou wast not out 3 years old.
Certainly, sir, I can, but rather like a dream than an assurance that my remembrance warrants. Had I not 4 or 5 women once that tended me?
Thou hadst, and more, Miranda. What seest thou else? If thou rememberest aught ere thou camest here, how thou camest here, thou mayst.
But that I do not.
It's 12 years since, Miranda. 12 years since thy father was the Duke of Milan and a prince of power.
Sir, are not you my father?
Thy mother was a piece of virtue, and she said thou wast my daughter. And thy father was Duke of Milan, and his only heir and princess no worse issued.
Oh, the heavens! What foul play had we that we came from thence?
By foul play, as thou sayest, were we heaved thence, but blessedly holp hither.
Oh, my heart bleeds. This is from my remembrance. Please you, farther.
My brother and thy uncle called Antonio, I pray thee, mark me, that a brother should be so perfidious. He whom next by thyself of all the world I loved, and to him put the management of my state, as at that time the government I cast upon my brother, and to my state grew stranger, being transported and wrapped in secret studies. Thy false uncle, dost thou attend me?
Sir, most heedfully.
The creatures that were mine, I say he changed him, or else new formed him, having both the key of officer and office, set all hearts in the state to what tune pleased his ear, that now he was the ivy that had hid my princely trunk and sucked my verdure out on it. Thou attendst not.
Oh, good sir, I do.
I pray thee, mark me. I, thus neglecting worldly ends, all dedicated to closeness, to the betterment of my mind, with that which, but by being so retired, or prized all popular rate, in my false brother awaked an evil nature, and my trust, like a good parent, did beget of him all falsehood in its contrary, as great as my trust was, which had indeed no limit, a confidence sans bound. He, being thus lorded, made such a sinner of his memory to credit his own lie, he did believe he was indeed the Duke, with all prerogative hence, his ambition growing. Didst thou hear?
Your tale, sir, would cure deafness.
We have no screen between his part he played and him he played it for. He needs will be absolute Milan. Me, poor man, my library was dukedom large enough. Of temporal royalties, he thinks me now incapable. Confederates, so dry he was for sway with the king of Naples, subject his coronet to his crown, and bend the dukedom yet unbowed. Oh, alas, poor Milan, to most ignoble stooping.
Oh, the heavens!
Mark this condition and event. Then tell me if this might be a brother.
I should sin to think but nobly of my grandmother. Good wombs have borne bad sons.
Now the condition. This king of Naples, being an enemy to me inveterate, hearkens my brother's suit, did presently exturbate me and mine out of the dukedom and confer fair Milan with all the honors on my brother. Whereon a treacherous army levied one midnight, fated to the purpose, did Antonio open the gates of Milan, and in the dead of darkness, the ministers for the purpose hurried thence me and thy crying self.
Alack for pity! I, not remembering how I cried out then, will cry it out again. It is a hint that rings mine eyes to it. Wherefore did they not that hour destroy us?
Well demanded, wench. My tale provokes that question. Dear, they durst not, so dear the love my people bore me, nor set a mark so bloody on the business, but with colors fairer painted their foul ends. In few, they hurried us aboard a bark, bore us some leagues to the sea. There they hoisted us to cry to the sea that roared to us, to sigh to the winds whose pity, sighing back again, did us but loving wrong.
Alack, what trouble was I then to you?
Oh, a cherubin thou wast that did preserve me. Thou didst smile, infused with a fortitude from heaven against what should ensue.
How came we ashore?
By providence divine. Some food we had and some fresh water that a noble Neapolitan Gonzalo, out of his charity, who being then appointed master of this design, did give us with rich garments, linens, stuffs, and necessaries, which since have studied much. So of his gentleness, knowing I loved my books, he furnished me from mine own library with volumes that I prize above my dukedom.
Would I might but ever see that man.
Now I arise. Sit still and hear the last of our sea sorrow. Here in this island we arrived, and here have I, the schoolmaster, made thee more profit than other princes can, that have more time for vainer hours and tutors not so careful.
Heavens, thank you for it. And now I pray you, sir, for still 'tis beating in my mind, your reason for raising this sea storm.
Know thus far forth. By accident, most strange, bountiful fortune, now, my dear lady, hath mine enemies brought to this shore. And by my prescience, if now I court not, but admit my fortunes will ever after droop. Here, seech more questions. Thou art inclined to sleep. 'Tis a dullness, and give it way. I know thou canst not choose. Come away, servant, come. I am ready now. Approach, my Ariel. Come.
All hail, great master. Grave sir, hail. I come to answer thy best pleasure, be to fly, to swim, to dive into the fire, to ride on the curled clouds, to thy strong bidding, task Ariel, and all his quality.
Hast thou, spirit, performed to point the tempest that I bade thee?
To every article. I boarded the king's ship, now in the beak, now in the waist, the deck, in every cabin I flamed amazement. Sometimes I divide and burn in many places. On the topmast, the yard's end bowsprit would I flame distinctly, then meet and join Jove's lightning, fire and cracks of sulphurous roaring, the most mighty Neptune seemed to besiege and make his bold waves tremble, yea, his dread trident shake.
My brave spirit, who was so firm, so constant that this coil would not infect his reason.
Not a soul, but felt a fever of the mad and played some tricks of desperation. All but mariners plunged into the foaming brine and quit the vessel. Then all afire with me. The king's son Ferdinand with hair up staring, then like reeds, not hair, was the first man that leaped, cried, hell is empty and all the devils are here.
Why, that's my spirit, but was not this nigh shore?
Close by, my master.
But are they, Ariel, safe?
Not a hair perished. On their sustaining garments, not a blemish, but fresher than before. And as thou badest me, in troops I have dispersed them about the isle. The king's son I've landed by himself, whom I left cooling the air with sighs in an odd angle of the island, and sitting his arms in this sad knot.
Of the king's ship and all the rest of the fleet.
Safely in harbor is the king's ship. In the deep nook there hid the mariners, all under hatches stowed, who, with a charm joined to their suffered labor, I have left asleep. The rest of the fleet, which I dispersed, they all have met again and are upon the Mediterranean float, bound sadly home for Naples, supposing that they saw the king's ship wrecked and his great person perish.
Ariel, thy charge exactly is performed. But there's more work.
Is there more toil? Thou dost give me pains. Let me remember thee, what thou hast promised, which is not yet performed me.
Oh no. Moody? What is thou canst demand?
My liberty.
Before the time be out, no more.
Prithee, remember I have done thee worthy service, told thee no lies, made no mistaking, served without grudge or grumblings. Thou didst promise to bait me a full year.
Dost thou forget from what a torment I did free thee?
No.
Thou dost, and think'st it much to tread the ooze of the salt deep, to do me business in the veins of the earth.
I do not, sir.
Thou liest, malignant thing. Hast thou forgot the foul witch, Sycorax, who with age and envy was grown into a hoop? Hast thou forgot?
No, sir.
Sure thou forgotst. I must once in a month recount what thou hast been, which thou forgett'st. This damned witch Sycorax, for mischiefs manifold and sorceries terrible, thou knowest, was banished. For one thing she did, they would not take her life. Is this not true?
Aye, sir.
This blue-eyed hag was hither brought with child, and here was left by the sailors. Thou, my slave, as thou reportst thyself, was then her servant, and for thou wast a spirit too delicate to act her earthly and abhorred commands, refusing her grand hests, she did confine thee. Imprisoned thou didst painfully remain 12 years, within which space she died, and left thee there, where thou didst vent thy groans as fast as mill wheels strike. Then was this island, save for the son that she did litter here, a freckled whelp hag-born, not honored with a human shape.
Yes. Caliban, her son.
Dull thing, I say so. He, that Caliban, whom now I keep in service, thou best knowst what torment I did find thee in. Thy groans did make wolves howl, and penetrate the beasts of ever angry bears. It was a torment to lay upon the damned, which Sycorax could not again undo. It was mine art, who, when I arrived and heard thee, that made gape the pine and let thee out.
Thank thee, master. I will be correspondent to command. Do my spiriting gently.
Do so. And after 2 days, I will discharge thee.
It's my noble master. Oh, what shall I do? Say what? What shall I do?
Go, make thyself like a nymph of the sea. Take no sight but thine and mine, invisible to every eyeball see. Go, take this shape, and hither come it. Go hence with diligence. Awake, dear heart, awake. Thou hast slept well.
Oh, the strangeness of your story put heaviness in me.
Off, come on. We'll visit Caliban, my slave, who never yields us a kind answer.
'Tis a villain, sir, I do not love to look on.
But as 'tis, we cannot miss him. He does make our fire, fetch in our wood, and serves in offices that profit us. What ho, slave, Caliban? Thou earth, thou, speak.
There's wood enough within.
Come forth, I say. There's other business for thee. Oh, fine apparition, my quaint Ariel, hearken thine ear.
My lord, it shall be done.
Thou poisonous slave, got by the devil himself upon thy wicked dam, come forth.
As wicked do as e'er my mother brushed drop on you both. A southwest blow on you and blister you all over.
For this, be sure tonight thou shalt have cramps.
This island's mine by Sycorax, my mother, which thou takest from me. When thou camest first, thou strokest me and made much of me, wouldst give me waters with berries in it, and teach me how to name bigger light, and how the less that burn by day and night. And then I loved thee, and thou showed thee all the qualities of the isle, the fresh springs, brine pits, barren place, and fertile. Cursed be that I did so. All the charms of sycorax, toads, beetles, bats light on you, for I am all the subjects that you have, which was first mine own king, and here you stye me in this hard rock, whiles you do keep me from me the rest of the island.
Thou most lying slave, filth as thou art, with humane care I lodged thee in mine own cell, till thou didst seek to violate the honor of my child.
Would have been done. Thou didst prevent me. I had peopled else this isle with Calibans.
Abhorred slave, which any print of goodness will not take, being capable of all ill. I pitied thee, took pains to make thee speak, taught thee each hour one thing or other, when thou didst not, savage, known thine own meaning, but wouldst gabble like a thing most brutish. I endowed thy purposes with words that made them known. But thy vile race, though thou didst learn, had that in which good natures could not abide to be with. Therefore wast thou deservedly confined into this rock, who had deserved more than a prison.
You taught me language, and my profit on it is I know how to curse. The red plague rid you for learning me your language.
Hagseed, hence! Fetch us in fuel, and be quick. Thou art best if thou neglect or dost unwillingly what I command. I'll rack thee with old cramps, fill all thy bones with aches, make thee roar that beasts shall tremble at thy din.
No, pray thee. I must obey. His art is of such power it would control my damn's god.
Come on to these yellow sands, and then take hands. Curtsied when you haven't kissed the wild waves whist. Put it feebly here and there, and sweet sprites bear. The burden hark, hark, the watchdogs bark, hark, hark. I hear.
Where should this music be? In the air or in the earth? This music crept by me upon the waters, allaying both their fury and my passion with its sweet air. Thence I have followed it, or it hath drawn me rather. It is gone. Oh no, it begins again.
2 fathoms 5, thy father lies. Of his bones are coral made, those are pearls that were his eyes. Nothing of him that doth fade, but doth separate. See change into something rich and strange. See nymphs hourly ring his knell. Hark now, I hear them ding, dong, bell.
This ditty does remember my drowned father. No mortal business, nor no sound that the earth owes. I hear it now above me.
The fringed curtains of thine eyes advance, and say what thou seest yond.
What is't a spirit? Lord, how it looks about. Believe me, sir, it carries a brave form, but 'tis a spirit.
No, wench, it eats and sleeps and hath such senses as we have. Such. This gallant, which thou seest, was in the rack, but he's something stained with grief. That's a beauty's canker. Thou mightst call him a goodly person. He hath lost his fellows and strays about to find them.
I might call him a thing divine, for nothing natural I ever saw so noble.
It goes on, I see, as my soul prompts it. Ariel, fine spirit, I'll free thee within 2 days for this.
Most sure the goddess on whom these airs attend, vouchsafe my prayer, may know if you remain upon this island, and that you will some good instruction give how I may bear me here. My prime request, which I do last pronounce, is, oh, you wonder, be maid or no?
No wonder, sir, but certainly a maid.
Ah, my language! Heavens! I am the best of them that speak this speech, were I but where it is spoken.
How? The best? What wert thou if the King of Naples heard thee?
A single thing, as I am now, that wonders to hear thee speak of Naples. He does hear me, and that he does I weep. Myself am Naples, who with mine eyes, never since at ebb, beheld the king my father racked.
Alack for mercy.
Yes, faith, and all his lords, the Duke of Milan and his brave son being twain.
The Duke of Milan and his more braver daughter could control thee, if now 'twere fit to do it. At the first sight, they have changed eyes. Delicate Ariel, I'll set thee free for this. A word, good sir. I fear you have done yourself some wrong. A word.
Why speaks my father so ungently? This is the third man that e'er I saw, the first that I sighed for. Pity move my father to be inclined my way.
Oh, if an angel and your affection not gone forth, I'll make you the Queen of Naples.
Soft, sir. One word more. They are both within each powers, but this swift business I must uneasy make, lest too light winning make the prize light. One word more, I charge thee, that thou attend me. Thou dost here usurp the name thou owest not, and hast put thyself upon this land as a spy to win it from me and the Lord on it.
No, as I am a man.
There's nothing ill can dwell in such a temple. If the ill spirit have so fair a house, good things will strive to dwell with it.
Follow me. Speak not you for him, he's a traitor. Come, I'll manacle thy neck and feet together. Sea water shalt thou drink. Thy food shall be the fresh brook mussels, withered roots, and husks wherein the acorn cradled. Follow.
No, I will resist such entertainment till mine enemy has more power.
Oh, dear father, make not too rash a trial of him. He's gentle and not fearful.
What? I say? My foot, my tutor. Put up thy sword, traitor, for I can here disarm thee with this stick and make thy weapon drop.
Sir, have pity. I'll be his surety.
Silence! One word more. An advocate for an impostor? Hush. Thou thinkst there is no more shapes as he, having seen but him and Caliban. Foolish wench, to the most of men, this is a Caliban, and they to him are angels.
My affections are then most humble. I have no ambition to see a goodlier man.
Come on, obey. The nerves are in their infancy again and have no vigor in them.
So they are. My spirits, as in a dream, are all bound up. My father's loss, the weakness which I feel, the wrack of all my friends, nor this man's threats to who I am subdued, but are but light to me. Might I but through my prison once a day behold this maid. All corners else of the earth let liberty make use of. Space enough have I in such a prison.
It works. Come on. Thou hast done well, fine Ariel. Follow me. Hark what thou else shall do me.
Be of comfort. My father's of a better nature, sir, than he appears by speech. This is unwanted which now came from him.
Thou shalt be as free as the mountain winds, but then do exactly all points of my command.
To the syllable.
Come, follow. Speak not for him.
Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Alonso, Sebastian, Antonio, Gonzalo, and others.
Beseech you, sir, be merry. You have cause. So have we all of joy. Our escape is much beyond our loss. Our hint of woe is common. Every day some sailor's wife, the masters of some merchant, and the merchant have just our theme of woe. But for the miracle, I mean, our preservation, few in millions can speak like us. Then wisely, good sir, weigh our sorrow with our comfort.
Prithee, peace.
He receives comfort like cold porridge.
The visitor will not give him over so.
Look, he's winding up the watch of his wit. By and by it will strike.
Sir,
1. Tell.
when every grief is entertained that's offered, comes to the entertainer,
$1.
oh, dolour comes to him indeed. You have spoken truer than you proposed.
You have taken it wiselier than I meant you should.
Therefore, my lord.
I prithee, spare.
Well, I have done, but yet
What a spit is his tongue.
He will be talking.
The air breathes itself upon us here most sweetly.
As if it had lungs, and rotten ones.
Here is everything advantageous to life.
Ooh, save means to life.
Of that there's none, or little.
How lush and lusty the grass looks. How green.
Ooh, the ground indeed is tawny, with an eye of green in it. He missed not much.
No, he doth but mistake the truth totally.
That our garments, being as they were, drenched in the sea, hold notwithstanding their freshness and gloss, being rather new dyed than stained with seawater.
His word is more than the miraculous harp. What impossible matter will he make easy next?
I think he will carry this island home in his pocket and give it to his son for an apple.
Is not, sir, my doublet fresh as the first day I wore it? I mean, in a sort, when I wore it at your daughter's marriage.
You cram these words into mine ears against the stomach of myself. Would I had never married my daughter there, for coming thence, my son is lost, and in my rate, she too, who is far from Italy removed. I ne'er again shall see her, Oh, thou mine heir of Naples and of Milan, what strange fish hath made his meal on thee?
Sir, he may live. I saw him beat the surges under him, above the contentious waves he kept, and oared with his good arms to the shore. I not doubt he came alive to this land.
No, no, he's gone.
Sir, you may thank yourself for this great loss, that would not bless our Europe with your daughter, but rather lose her to another land. You were kneeled to and importuned otherwise by all of us, and the fair soul herself. The fault's your own.
So is the dearest of the loss.
My lord Sebastian, the truth you speak doth lack some gentleness and time to speak it in. You rub the sore when you should bring the plaster.
Very well.
It is foul weather in us all, good sir, when you are cloudy. Had I plantation of this isle, my lord, and were the king on it, what would I do?
Yet he would be king on it. Save his majesty!
Long live Gonzalo!
Prithee, no more. Thou dost talk nothing to me.
I do well believe your highness, and did it to minister occasion to these gentlemen, and who are of such sensible and nimble lungs that they always use to laugh at nothing.
Laughed at.
You are gentlemen of brave metal. You would lift the moon out of her sphere if she would continue in it 5 weeks without changing.
Nay, good my lord, be not angry.
No. I warrant you, I will not adventure my discretion so weakly. Will you laugh me asleep? For I am very heavy.
What? All so soon asleep? I wish mine eyes would, with themselves, shut up my thoughts. I find they are inclined to do so.
Please you, sir, do not omit the heavy offer of it. It is a comforter.
Me too, my lord, will guard your person while you take your rest and watch your safety.
Thank you. Wondrous heavy.
A strange drowsiness possesses them.
Quality of the climate.
Why doth it not then our eyelids sink? I find not myself disposed to sleep.
Nor I. My spirits are nimble. They dropped by a thunderstroke what might worthy Sebastian, or what might more. Yet, methinks I see it in thy face, what thou shouldst be. The occasion speaks thee, and my strong imagination sees a crown droppeth upon thy head.
What, art thou waking? It is a sleepy language, and thou speakest out of thy sleep. What is it thou didst say? With eyes wide open, standing, speaking, moving, and yet so fast asleep.
Noble Sebastian, thou lettest thy fortune sleep rather, die rather, winkest whilst thou art waking.
Thou dost snore distinctly. There's meaning in thy snores.
I am more serious than my custom. You must be so too. If heed me, which to do troubles thee over,
Well, I'm standing water.
I'll tech you how to flow.
Prithee, say on. The setting of thine eye and cheek proclaim a matter from thee, and a birth indeed, which throws thee much to yield.
Thus, sir, although this lord of weak resemblance, this who shall be of a little memory, when he is earthed, hath here almost persuaded, for he is a spirit of persuasion, only professes to persuade the king his son's alive. 'Tis as impossible as he's undrowned, as that he's as sleeps here swims.
I have no hope that he's undrowned.
Oh, out of that no hope. What great hope hath you? No hope that weighs another way so high a hope that ambition cannot pierce a wink beyond. What doubt, discovery there? Will you grant with me that Ferdinand is drowned?
He's gone.
Then tell me, who's the next heir of Naples?
Clarabelle?
She that is Queen of Tunis, she that dwells 10 leagues beyond a man's life, she that from Naples can have no note unless the sun were post. The man in the moon too slow, she that from whom we all were sea swallowed.
What stuff is this? 'Tis true, my brother's daughter's Queen of Tunis, so is she heir of Naples, twixt which regions there is some space.
A space whose every cubic seems to cry out, how shall that Clarabelle measure us back to Naples? Keep in Tunis. Let Sebastian wake. Say, this for death. Now hath seized them. Why, they were no worse than now they are. That be that can rule Naples as well as he that sleeps. Lords can prate as ample and unnecessarily as this Gonzalo. I myself could make a cough of a deep chat. Oh, that you bore the mind that I do, what a sleep with this for your advancement. You understand me?
Methinks I do.
And how does your context tender your own good fortune?
Well, I remember you did supplant your brother Prospero.
True. And look how well my garments sit me now. Much fitter than before. My brother's servants were then my fellows, now they are my men.
But for your conscience?
Aye, sir, where liest that? I feel not this deity in my bosom. Here lies your brother. If he were that which now he's like, that's dead. Whom I, with this obedient steel, 3 inches of it, can lay to bed forever. For all the rest, they'll take suggestion as a cat laps milk, and they'll tell the clock to any business that say befits the hour.
Thy case, dear friend, shall be my precedent. As thou gotst Milan, I'll come by Naples. Draw thy sword, one stroke, and I, the king, shall love thee.
Draw together. And when I rear my hand, do you like to fall on it, Gonzalo?
My master, through his art, foresees the danger that you, his friends, are in, and sends me forth, for else his project dies to keep you living. While you here do snoring lie, open-eyed conspiracy his time doth take. If of life you keep a care, shake off slumber and beware. Awake! Awake!
Oh, let us both be sudden.
Oh, no, good angels preserve the king.
Why? Wake! Why are you drawn?
while we stood here securing your repose, even now, we heard a hollow burst of bellowing, like bulls, or rather lions. Did it not wake you? It struck mine ear most terribly.
I heard nothing.
Oh, 'twas a din to fright a monster's ear, to make an earthquake sure. It was the roar of a herd of lions.
Heard you this, Gonzalo?
Upon mine honor, sir, I heard a humming, and that a strange one too, which did awake me. I saw their weapons drawn. There was a noise. That's verily. 'Tis best we stand upon our guard, or that we quit this place, keep drawn our weapons.
Lead off this ground, and let's make further search for my poor son.
Heavens keep him from these beasts, for he is sure in the island.
Prospero, my lord, shall know what I have done. So, king, go safely on to seek thy son.
Scene 2. Enter Caliban with a burden of wood, a noise of thunder heard.
All the infections that the sun sucks up from bogs, fens, flats on Prosper fallen make him by inchmeal a disease. His spirits hear me, and yet I needs must curse, but they'll nor pinch. Fright me with urchin shows, pitch me in the mire, nor lead me like a firebrand in the dark out of my ways unless he bid 'em. But for every trifle are they set upon me, sometimes like apes that mow and chatter at me, and after bite me, then sometimes am I all wound with adders, who with cloven tongues do hiss me into madness. Lo, now lo, here comes a spirit of his, and to torment me for bringing wood in slowly, I'll fall flat. Perchance he will not see me.
He lies down and covers himself with his cloak. Enter Trinculo.
Oh, here's neither bush nor shrub to bear off any weather at all. And another storm brewing. I hear it sing in the wind. Yond same black cloud, yond huge one. If it should thunder as it did before, I know not where to hide my head. Yon same black cloud cannot choose but fall by pailfuls. What have we here? A man or a fish? Dead or alive? A fish! Oh, he smells like a fish. A very ancient and fish-like smell, a kind of not of the newest poor John, a strange fish. Were I in England now, as once I was, and had but this fish painted, not a holiday fool there would give a piece of silver. There would this monster make a man. Any strange beast there makes a man. Legged like a man, and his fins like arms. One, oh my truth! I do now let loose my opinion. Hold it no longer. This is no fish, but an islander who hath lately suffered by a thunderbolt. Alas, the storm has come again. My best way is to creep under his gabardine. There is no other shelter hereabout. Misery acquaints a man with strange bedfellows. I will shroud here till the dregs of the storm be past.
I I shall no more to see. Here I shall die ashore. Isn't a very scurvy tune to sing at a man's funeral? Well, here's my comfort. The master, the swabber, the boatswain, and I, the gunner and his mate, loved Moll, Megan, Marion, and Marjorie. But none of us cared for Kate, for she had a tongue with a tang, would cry to a sailor, go hang. She loved not the saver nor the torpid, yet a tailor might scratch her where she did itch. Then to see boys and let her go hang. This is a scurvy tune too. Oh, but here's my comfort.
Do not torment me. Oh!
What's the matter? Have we devils here? Huh? I have not escaped the drowning to be afeard now of your 4 legs. For it hath been said, a proper man as ever went on 4 legs cannot make him give ground. And it shall be said so again while Stefano breathes at nostrils.
The spirit torments me. Oh!
Oh, this is some monster of the isle with 4 legs who hath got, as I take it, an ague. Where the devil should he learn our language? I will give him some relief. If it be but for that, if I can recover him and keep him tame and get him to Naples with him, he's a present for any emperor that ever trode on neat's leather.
Do not torment me, prithee. I'll bring my wood home faster.
Oh, he is in a fit now, and does talk after the wisest. Oh, he shall taste of my bottle. If he have never drunk wine afore, it will go near to remove him his fit. If I can recover him and keep him tame, I will not take too much for him. He shall pay for him that hath him, and that soundly.
Thou dost me yet but little hurt. Thou wilt anon. I know it by thy trembling. Now prosper works upon thee.
Oh, Dubois, come thy ways. Open your mouth. Here is that which will give language to you, cat. Open your mouth. This will shake your shaking, I can tell you, and that's soundly. Oh, you cannot tell who's your friend. Open your chaps again.
I should know that voice. It should be. Oh, but he is drowned, and these are devils. Oh, defend me.
4 legs and 2 voices. A most delicate monster. His forward voice now is to speak well of his friend. His backward voice is to utter foul speeches and to detract. If all the wine in my bottle will recover him, I will help his ague. Come. Amen. I will pour some in thy other mouth.
Stefano!
What does thy other mouth call me? Mercy, mercy, this is a devil and no monster. I will leave him. I have no long spoon.
If thou be Stefano, touch me, and speak to me, for I am Trinculo. Be not afeard, that good friend Trinculo.
If thou be Trinculo, come forth. I'll pull thee by the lesser legs. If any be Trinculo's legs, these are they. Thou art Trinculo indeed! How camest thee to the siege of this moon? Can he vent Trinculos?
I took him to be killed with a thunderstroke. But art thou not drowned, Stefano? I hope that thou art not drowned. Is the storm overblown? I hid me under the dead mooncalf's gabardine for fear of the storm. And art thou living, Stefano? Oh, Stefano! Two Neapolitans escaped.
Turn me about. My stomach is not constant.
These be fine things, and if they be not sprites, that a brave god and bears celestial liquor, I will kneel to him.
How did thou escape? How camest thou hither? Swear by this bottle how thou camest hither. I escaped on a butt of sack, which the sailors heaved overboard. By this bottle, which I made of the bark of a tree with mine own hands since I was cast ashore.
I'll swear upon that bottle to be thy true subject, for the liquor is not earthly.
Swum ashore, man, like a duck. I can swim like a duck. I'll be sworn.
Here, kiss the boo. Thou canst swim like a duck, thou art made like a goose.
Oh, Stefano, ask any more of this.
The whole butt, man. My cellar is in a rock by the seaside where my wine is hid. Oh. How now, moon calf, how does thine ague?
Hast thou not dropped from heaven?
Out of the moon, man. I assure thee, I was the man in the moon when time was.
I have seen thee in her, and I do adore thee. My mistress showed me thee, and thy dog, and thy bush.
Come, swear to that. Kiss the book. I will furnish it anon with new content, swear.
By this good light, this is a very shallow monster. I afeard of him, a very weak monster. Well drawn monster, in good sooth.
I'll show thee every fertile inch of the island, and I will kiss thy foot. I prithee, be my God, I'll kiss thy foot. I'll swear myself thy subject.
Ooh. Come on, then, down and swear.
I shall laugh myself to death at this puppy-headed monster, a most scurvy monster. I could find it in my heart to beat him.
I'll show thee the best springs. I'll pick the berries. I'll fish for thee and get thee wood enough. I plague upon thy tyrant that I serve. I'll bear him no more sticks, but follow thee, thou wondrous man.
A most ridiculous monster to make wonder of a poor drunkard.
I prithee, let me bring thee where crabs grow, and I will, with my long nails, will dig thee pig nuts, show thee a jay's nest, and instruct thee how to snare the nimble marmoset. I'll bring thee to clustering filberts. Wilt thou go with me?
I prithee, lead the way without any more talking. Trinculo, the king and all our company else being drowned, we will inherit here. Here, bear my bottle. Fellow Trinculo will fill him by and by.
Farewell, master. Farewell, farewell.
Howling monster, a drunken monster.
No more dams I'll make for fish, no fetching, firing at requiring, nor scrape, trenchering, nor wash, dish, ban, Caliban. Has a new master, get a new man, freedom, high day, freedom, high day, freedom.
Oh, brave monster, lead the way. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Ferdinand bearing a log which he struggles with.
There be some sports are painful and they're labeled delight in them sets off. Some kinds of baseness are nobly undergone, and most poor matters point to rich ends. This my mean task would be as heavy to me as odious, but the mistress which I serve quickens what's dead and makes my labors pleasures. She is 10 times more gentle than her father's crab, and he's composed of harshness. I must remove some thousands of these logs and pile them up upon a soaring junction. My sweet mistress weeps when she sees me work and says such baseness had never like executor. I forget, but these sweet thoughts do even refresh my labors. Most busiest when I do it.
Alas, now, pray you, work not so hard. I would the lightning had burnt up those logs that you are enjoined to pile. Pray, set it down and rest you. When this burns, 'twill weep for having wearied you. My father is hard at study. Pray now, rest yourself. He's safe for these 3 hours.
Oh, my dear mistress, the sun will set before I shall discharge what I must strive to do.
If you'll sit down, I'll bear your logs the while. Pray, give me that. I'll carry it to the pile.
No, no, precious creature. I had rather crack my sinews, break my back, than you should then you should such dishonor undergo while I sit lazily by.
It would become me as well as it does you, and I should do it with much more ease. For my good will is to it, and yours it is against.
Poor worm, thou art infected. This visitation shows it.
You look wearily.
Oh, noble mistress, 'tis fresh morning with me when you are by at night. I do beseech you, chiefly that I might set it in my prayers. What is your name?
Miranda. Oh, my father, I have broke your hest to say so.
Admired Miranda. Indeed, the top of admiration, worth what's dearest to the world. Full many a lady I have eyed with my best regard, and many a time the harmony of their tongues hath into bondage brought my too diligent ear. For several virtues have I liked several women, never any with so full soul, but some defect in her did quarrel with the noblest grace she owed, and put it to the foil. But you, oh, you, so perfect and so peerless, are created of every creature's best.
I do not know one of my sex, no woman's face remember, save from my glass mine own. Nor have I seen more than that I may call men than you, good friend, and my dear father. How features are abroad I am skilless of, but by my modesty, the jewel in my dower, I would not wish any companion in the world but you, nor can imagination form a shape besides yourself to like of. But I prattle something too wildly, and my father's precepts I do in there forget.
I am in my condition a prince, Miranda. I do think a king, I would not so, and would no more endure this wooden slavery than to suffer the flesh fly blow my mouth. Hear my soul speak. The very instant that I saw you, did my heart fly to your service. There resides to make me slave to it, and for your sake, am I this patient logman.
Do you love me?
Oh, heaven, oh, earth, bear witness to this sound, and crown what I profess with kind event, if I speak true, if hollowly invert what best is boded to me mischief. I, beyond all limit of what else in the world, do love, prize, honor you.
I am a fool to weep at what I am glad of.
Fair encounter of two most rare affections. Heaven's rain grace on that which breathes between them.
Wherefore weep you?
At mine unworthiness that dare not offer what I desire to give, and much less take what I shall die to want. But this is trifling. I am your wife if you will marry me. If not, I'll die your maid. To be your fellow you may deny me, but I'll be your servant whether you will or no.
My mistress, dearest, and I thus humbly ever.
My husband, then.
I, with a heart as willing as bondage e'er freedom, here's my hand.
And mine, with my heart in't. And now farewell, till half an hour hence.
1,000,000.
So glad of this as they I cannot be, who are surprised withal. But my rejoicing at nothing can be more. I'll to my book, for yet ere supper time must I perform much business appertaining.
Act 3, Scene 2, enter Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo. That's not me. When the butt is out, we will drink water, not a drop before. Therefore, bear up in boredom, a servant monster. Drink to me.
Servant monster! The folly of this island. They say there's but 5 upon this isle. We are 3 of them. If the other 2 be brained like us, the state totters.
Oh, drink, servant monster, when I bid thee. Thy eyes are almost set in my head.
Where should they be set else? He were a brave monster indeed if they were set in his tail.
Oh, moon calf. Speak once in thy life if thou beest a good moon calf.
How does thy honor? Let me lick thy shoe. I'll not serve him. He is not valiant.
Thou liest, thou ignorant monster. Was there ever man a coward that have drunk so much sack as I today? Wilt thou tell a monstrous lie, being but half a fish and half a monster?
Lo, how he mocks me! Wilt thou let him, my lord?
Lord, quoth he.
Lo, lo again, bite him to death, I prithee.
Oh, Trinky, keep a good tongue in your head. The poor monster's my subject, and he shall not suffer indignity.
I thank you, my noble lord. Wilt thou be pleased to hearken once again to suit I made to thee?
Marry, will I kneel and repeat it? I will stand, and so shall Trinky.
As I told thee before, I am subject to a tyrant, a sorcerer, that by his cunning hath cheated me of this island.
Thou liest.
Thou liest, thou jesting monkey, thou!
Trinky, if you trouble him any more this tale by this hand, I will supplant some of your teeth.
I said nothing.
Ma'am, then no more. Proceed.
I say by sorcery he got this isle. From me he got it. If thy greatness will, revenge it upon him. Thou shalt be lord of it, and I'll serve thee.
Oh, how now shall this be compassed? Canst thou bring me to the party?
Yea, yea, my lord, I'll yield him to thee sleep, where thou mayst knock a nail into his head.
Thou liest. Thou canst not.
What a peg ninny's this? Now, scurvy patch, I do beseech thy greatness, give him blows.
Dragalo! Run into no further danger. Interrupt the monster one word further, and by this hand, I'll turn my mercy out of doors and make a stockfish of thee.
Why? What did I did nothing. I'll go farther off.
Did you not say that he lied?
Thou liest.
Oh, do I so? Take thou that. And you like this? Give me the lie another time.
I did not give the lie. Out your wits and hearing too, a box on your bottle. This can sack a drinking do. A murrain on your monster, and the devil take your fingers.
Now, forward with your tale. Prithee, stand farther off. Stand farther. I come. Proceed.
Why, as I told thee, 'tis custom with him in the afternoon to sleep. There thou mayst brain him, having first seized his books, or with a log batter his skull, or paunch him with a stake, or cut his weasand both thy knife. Remember first to possess his books, for without them he's but a sot, as I am, nor hath not one spirit to command. Thy all do hate him as rootly as I do. Burn but his books, and that most deeply to consider is the beauty of his daughter. He himself calls her his nonpareil.
The brave, it's so brave lass.
My lord, she will become thy bed, I warrant, and bring thee forth brave brood.
Monster! I will kill this man. His daughter and I will be king and queen, save our graces, and Trinculo and thyself shall be viceroys. Dost thou like the plot, Trinculo?
Excellent.
Give me thy hand. I am sorry I beat thee, but whilst thou livest, keep a good tongue in thy head.
Within this half hour he will be asleep. Wilt thou destroy him then?
I, on mine honor.
This will I tell my master.
Thou makest me merry. I am full of pleasure. Let us be jocund.
At thy request, monster, I will do reason, any reason. Come on, Trinculo, let us sing. Out of my
Scout and scout and scout and scout and scout. That is sweet. Love.
Oh, what is this song?
This is the tune of our catch played by the picture of nobody.
Know thyself in thy likeness, if thou beest a devil, take as thou list.
Oh, forgive me my sins.
Mercy upon us!
Art thou afeard?
No. Good monster, no. Not I.
Be not afeard. The isle is full of noises, sounds, and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not.
This will prove a brave kingdom to me, where I shall have music for nothing.
When Prospero is destroyed.
I remember the story. Lead! Monster will follow. I would I could see this Taborer. He lays it on. Will come.
I'll follow, Stefano.
Okay. Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Alonso, Sebastian, Antonio, Gonzalo, etc.
Oh, Byre Lake, and I can go no further, sir. My old bones ache. Here's a maze trod indeed through forthrights and meanders. By your patience, I needs must rest me.
Old Lord, I cannot blame thee. Who am myself attached with weariness to the dulling of my spirits? Sit down and rest. Even here I will put off my hope and keep it no longer for my flatterer. He is drowned, whom thus we stray to find, and the sea mocks our frustrate search on land. Well, let him go.
I am right glad that he is so out of hope. Do not, for one, repulse, forego the purpose that you resolve to effect.
The next advantage will we take through Lee.
Let it be tonight. Now they are oppressed with travel. They will not, nor cannot, use such vigilance as they are fresh.
I say tonight, no more.
What harmony is this? My good friends, hark!
Marvelous, sweet music.
Enter several strange shapes, bringing in a banquet, and dance about it with gentle actions of salutations.
Give us kind keepers, heavens! What were these?
A living drollery. Now I will believe that there are unicorns.
I'll believe that. And what does else want credit? Come to me, and I'll be sworn 'tis true.
If in Naples I should report this now, would they believe me? If I should say I saw such islanders, their manners are more gentle, kind than of our human generation, you shall find many, nay, almost any.
Honest Lord, thou hast said well.
They are vanished strangely.
No matter, since they have left their viands behind, for we have stomachs.
We need not fear.
I will stand to and feed. Although my last, no matter, since I feel the best is past. Brother, my lord, the Duke, stand to and do as we.
Alonso, Sebastian, and Antonio move toward the table. Thunder and lightning. Enter Ariel as a harpy, claps his wings upon the table. The banquet vanishes.
You are three men of sin, whom destiny that hath to instrument this lower world and what is in it, the never surfeited sea hath caused to belch up you. And on this island where man doth not inhabit, you amongst men, being most unfit to live, I have made you mad. And even with such like valor, men hang and drown their proper selves. You fools! I and my fellows are ministers of fate. The elements of whom your swords are tempered may as well wound the loud winds, or with being mocked at stabs kill the still closing waters, as diminished one dow that's in my plume. If you could hurt, your swords are now too messy for your strengths and cannot be uplifted. But remember, for that's my business to you, that you three from Milan did supplant good Prospero, him and his innocent child, for which foul deed the powers delaying, not forgetting, have incensed the seas and shores, yea, all the creatures against your peace. Be of thy son, Alonso, they have bereft, and do pronounce by me lingering perdition, worse than any death, which here in this most desolate isle else falls upon your heads, is nothing but heart sorrow and a clear life ensuing.
He vanishes in thunder. Then, to soft music, enter the shapes again and dance with Mox and Mouse carrying out the table.
Bravely the figure of this harpy hast thou performed, my Ariel. A grace it had, devouring. And these, mine enemies, are all knit up in their distractions. They now are in my power. And in these fits I leave them while I visit young Ferdinand, whom they suppose is drowned, and his and my loved darling.
The name of something holy, sir. Oh, why stand you in this strange stare?
Oh, 'tis monstrous, monstrous. The winds did sing it to me, and the thunder, that deep and dreadful organ pipe, pronounced the name of Prosper. It did base my trespass. Therefore my son in the sea is bedded, and I'll seek him deeper than air plummet sounded, and with him there lie muddled.
One fiend at a time, I'll fight their legions o'er.
I'll be thy second.
Oh, All three of them are desperate. Their great guilt, like poison given to work a great time after, now begins to bite the spirits. Oh, I do beseech you, that are of suppler joints, follow them swiftly and hinder them from what this ecstasy may now provoke them to.
Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Prospero, Ferdinand, and Miranda.
If I have too austerely punished you, your compensation makes amends, for I have given you here a third of mine own life, or that for which I live, who once again I tender to thy hand. All thy vexations were but models of thy love, and thou hast strangely stood the test. Oh, Ferdinand, do not smile at me, that I boast of her, for thou shalt find she will outstrip all praise and make it halt behind her.
I do believe it against an oracle.
Then, as my gift and thine own acquisition worthily purchased, take my daughter thus, and Hymen's lamps shall light you.
As I hope for quiet days, fair issue, and long life, the most opportune place, the strongest suggestion, shall never melt mine honor.
Fairly spoke. Sit then and talk with me. I am thine own.
What, Ariel? My industrious servant, Ariel.
What would my potent master? Here I am.
Thou and thy meaner fellows your last service did worthily perform, and I must use you in such another trick. Go, bring the rabble, or whom I give thee power, here to this place.
Before you can say come and go and breathe twice and cry, so, do you love me, master? No?
Dearly, my delicate Ariel, do not approach till thou dost hear me call.
Well, I can see.
Look thou be true. Do not give dalliance too much rein. The strongest oaths are straw to the fire and the blood. Be more abstemious, or else good night your vow.
I warrant you, sir.
No tongue, all eyes. Be silent.
Enter Juno with other ethereal spirits that circle Miranda and Ferdinand. Hail, Prospero, why hast thou summoned me?
A contract of true love to celebrate, and some donation freely to estate on the blessed lovers.
How do my bounteous spirits go with me to bless this twain, that they may be prosperous and honored in their issue? The spirits sing and dance around Miranda and Ferdinand.
This is a most majestic vision and harmonious charmingly. May I be bold to think these spirits?
Spirits, which by mine art I have from their confines called to enact my present fancies.
Oh, let me live here ever.
Yeah.
Where a wondered father and a wise makes this place paradise.
Sweet now, silence. There's something else to do. Hush and be mute.
The spirits join Miranda and Ferdinand in a graceful dance. Towards the end, they are joined together and ceremoniously kiss. Prospero starts suddenly and
Oh, I had
speaks.
forgot that foul conspiracy of the beast Caliban and his confederates against my life. The minute of their plot is almost come. Well done. Avoid. No more.
This is strange. Your father's in some passion that works him strongly.
And never till this day saw I him touched with anger so distempered.
You do look, my son, in a moved sort, as if you were dismayed. Be cheerful, sir. Our revels now are ended. These, our spirits, are melted into air, into the world. Yea, all which it inherit shall dissolve. Leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Sir, I am vexed. Bear with my weakness. My old brain is troubled. Be not disturbed with my infirmity. If you be pleased, retire into my cell and there repose. A turn or two I'll walk to still my beating mind.
I wish your peace.
Come with a thought. I thank thee, Ariel.
That thus I cleave to. What's thy pleasure?
Spirit, we must prepare to meet with Caliban.
Ah, I thought to have told thee of it, but I feared lest I might anger thee.
Say again, where didst thou leave these varlets?
I told you, sir, they were red hot with drinking, so full of valor that they smote the air for breathing in their faces, beat the ground for kissing of their feet, yet always bending towards their project. Then I beat my tabor, at which, like unbacked colts, they pricked their ears, advanced their eyelids, lifted up their noses as they smelt music. So I charmed their ears in the filthy mantled pool beyond yourself. They're dancing up to the chins that the foul lake was stuck their feet.
Oh, this was well done, my bird. Thy shape invisible, retain thou still. The trumpery in my house, go bring it hither, for stale to catch these thieves.
I go.
A devil, a born devil on whose nurture can never stick, on whom my pains, humanely taken, all lost, quite lost. And as with age his body uglier grows, so his mind cankers. I will plague them all, even to roaring. Come, hang them on the line.
Pray you, tread softly. We now are near his cell.
Monster, I do smell all horse piss, at which my nose is in great indignation. art but a lost monster.
Good my lord, give me thy favor still. Be patient, for the prize I'll bring to thee shall hoodwink this mischance. Therefore speak softly.
Aye, but to lose our bottles in the pool.
Lord, we cannot hear you. Lord.
Stefano.
Lord Stefano, we cannot hear you.
Oh, there is not only disgrace and dishonor in that monster, but infinite loss.
That's more to me than my wetting. Yeah, this is your harmless fairy monster.
Yes, I will fetch off my bottle, though I be odious for my labor.
Really, my king, be quiet. Seest thou here? This is the mouth of the cell. No noise and enter. Do that good mischief which makes this island thine own forever, and I thy Caliban, for I thy foot licker.
Give me thy hand. I do begin to have bloody thoughts.
Oh, King Stefano! Oh, King worthy Stefano! Look what a wonder up here is for free!
Let it alone, thou fool. It is but trash.
Oh, monster! We know what belongs to frippery! Oh, King Stefano!
Put off that gown, Trinculo! By this hand, I'll have that gown.
They shall have it!
The dropsy drown this fool. What do you mean to dote this on such luggage? Let's be alone and do the murder first. If he awake, from toe to crown, he'll fill our skins with pinches, make us strange stuff.
Be quiet, monster! Mistress Line! Is not this my token?
do! We steal by line and level, and like your grace.
I thank thee for that jest. Here's a garment for it. Oh, which shall not go unrewarded while I'm king in this country. Ha! Steal by line and level. It is next to the passive page. There's another garment for thee.
Sir, come, put some lime upon your fingers and away with the rest.
I will have none of it. We shall lose our time and all be turned to barnacles or to apes with foreheads with villainous low.
Monster, lay to your fingers. Help me bear this away, or I'll turn you out of my kingdom. Go, you carry this.
And this.
And this. Oh. Oh, no.
Hark! They roar!
Let them be hunted soundly. At this hour lies at my mercy all mine enemies. Shortly shall all our labors end, and thou shall have the air at freedom. For a little follow and do me service.
Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Prospero in his magic robes and Ariel.
Now does my project gather to a head. My charms crack not, my spirits obey, and time goes upright with his carriage. How's the day?
On the 6th hour. At which time, my lord, you said our work should cease.
I did say so. When first I raised the Tempest. Say, my spirit, how fares the king and his followers?
Oh, prisoners, sir. They cannot budge till your release. The king, his brother, and yours abide all three distracted, and the remainder mourning over them. Him that you term, sir, the good old Lord Gonzalo. Oh, his tears run down his beard like winter drops from eaves of reeds. Your charm so strongly works that if you now beheld them, your affections would become tender.
Dost thou think so, spirit?
Mine would, sir, were I human.
And mine shall. Hast thou, which art but air, a touch, a feeling of their afflictions, and shall not myself, one of their kind, be kindlier moved than thou? Though with their high wrongs I am struck to the quick, yet with my nobler reason, 'gainst my fury, do I take part. The rarer action is in virtue than in vengeance. They being penitent, the sole drift of my purpose doth extend not a frown further. Go, release them, Ariel. My charms I'll break, their senses I'll restore, and they shall be themselves.
I'll fetch them, sir.
Prospero draws a large circle on the stage with his staff.
Your elves of hills, brooks, standing lakes and groves that rejoice to hear the solemn curfew, by whose aid, weak masters though you be, I have set roaring war. Oh, but this rough magic I here abjure. And when I have required some heavenly music, which even now I do, to work mine end upon their senses that this airy charm is for, I'll break my staff, bury it certain fathoms in the earth, and deeper than did ever plummet sound, I'll drown my book. A solemn air and the best comforter to an unsanity cure thy brains, now useless, boiled within thy skull. There stand, for you are spell stopped. Holy Gonzalo, honorable man, mine eyes. The charm dissolves apace, melting the darkness, so their rising senses begin to chase the ignorant fumes that mantle their clearer reason. Oh, good Gonzalo, my true preserver and a loyal sir, to him thou followest. I will pay thy graces home, both in word and deed. Most cruelly did thou, Alonso, use me and my daughter. Thy brother was a furtherer in the act. Thou art pinched for it now, Sebastian. Flesh and you, brother mine, that entertained ambition, expelled remorse and nature, whom with Sebastian, whose inward pinches therefore are most strong, would here have killed your king, I do forgive thee, unnatural though thou art. Their understanding begins to swell, and the approaching tide will shortly fill the reasonable shore that now lies foul and muddy. Not one of them that yet looks on me or would know me. Ariel, fetch me the hat and rapier in my cell. I will discase me and myself present as I was sometime Milan. Quickly, spirit, thou shalt ere long be free.
In a cowslip's bell I lie, there I couch when house to cry, on the bat's back do I fly. Back to summer merrily, 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 shall I live now, under the blossom that hangs on the bough.
Why, that's my dainty Ariel. I shall miss thee, but thou shalt have freedom. So, to the king's ship, invisible as thou art, there shalt thou find the mariners asleep. Being awaked, enforce them to this place, and presently, I prithee.
I drink the air before me and return, or your pulse twice beat.
All torment, trouble, wonder, and amazement inhabits here. Some heavenly power guide us out of this fearful country.
Behold, Sir King, the wronged Duke of Milan, Prospero, for more assurance than a living prince does now speak to thee. I embrace thy body. And to thee and thy company, I bid a hearty welcome.
Where thou beest, he or no, or some enchanted trifle to abuse me, as late I have been, I not know. Thy pulse beats as of flesh and blood, and since I saw thee, the affliction of my mind amends, with which I fear a madness held me. This must crave, and if this be at all a most strange story, thy dukedom I resign, and entreat thy pardon me my wrongs. But how should Prospero be living and be here?
First, noble friend, let me embrace thine age, whose honor cannot be measured or confined.
Whether this be or be not, I'll not swear.
You do yet taste some subtleties of the isle that will not let you believe certain things. Welcome, my friends all. But you, my brace of lords, were I so minded, I here could pluck his highness frown upon you and justify you traitors. At this time, I will tell no tales.
Devil speaks in him.
No, for you, most wicked sir, whom to call brother would even infect my mouth. I do forgive thy rankest fault, all of them, and require my dukedom of thee, which perforce I know thou must restore.
If thou beest Prospero, give us particulars of thy preservation, how thou has met us here, whom 3 hours since we were wrecked upon the shore, where I have lost. How sharp the point of this remembrance is, my dear son Ferdinand.
I am woe for it, sir.
Irreparable is the loss, and Patience says it is past her cure.
I rather think you have not sought her help, of whose soft grace, for the like loss, I have her sovereign, and rest myself content.
You like the like loss?
As great to me as late, and supportable to make the dear loss, have I means much weaker than you may call to comfort you. For I have lost my daughter.
A daughter? Oh, heavens, that they were both living in Naples, the king and queen there, that they were. I wish myself were muddled in that oozy bed where my son lies. When did you lose your daughter?
In the last tempest. But know for certain that I am Prospero, and that very duke which was thrust forth of Milan, who most strangely upon the shore where you were wrecked, was landed to be the lord on it. No more yet of this, not a relation for a breakfast, nor befitting their first meeting. Welcome, sir. This is my court. Here have I few attendants and subjects none abroad. Pray you look in. My dukedom, since you have given me again, I will requite you with as good a thing, at least bring forth a wonder to content you, as much as me, my dukedom.
Sweet Lord, you play me false.
No, my dearest love, I would not for the world.
And I would call it fair play.
If this prove a vision of the island, one dear son shall I twice lose.
Most high miracle.
Oh, the seas threaten. They are merciful. I have cursed them without cause.
Now, all the blessings of a glad father compass thee about. Arise and say how thou camest here.
Oh, wonder! How many goodly creatures are there here? How beauteous mankind is! Oh, brave new world that has such people in it.
Is she the goddess that has severed us and thus brought us together?
Sir, she is mortal, but by immortal providence, she's mine. I chose her when I could not ask my father for his advice, nor thought I had one. She is daughter to the famous Duke of Milan, of whom so often I have heard renown, but never saw before, of whom I have revived a second life, and second father this lady makes him to me.
I am hers, but oh, how oddly will it sound that I must ask my child forgiveness.
There, sir, stop. Let us not burden our remembrances with a heaviness that's gone.
Oh, I have inly wept, or should have spoke ere this. Oh, look down, you gods, and on this couple drop a blessed crown, for it is you that have chalked forth the way which brought us hither.
So, give me your hands. Let grief and sorrow still embrace his heart that doth not wish you joy.
Oh, look, sir, look, sir, here is more of us. I prophesied if a gallows were on land, this fellow could not drown. No, blasphemy, hast thou no mouth by land? What is the news?
The best news is that we have safely found our king and company. The next, Our ship is tight and yar and bravely rigged as when we first put out to sea. Sir, all this service have I done since I went.
My tricksy spirit.
These are not natural events. They strengthen from strange to stranger. Say, how came you hither?
I'll strive to tell you. We were dead of sleep, and how we know not, all clapped under hatches, where but even now, with strange and several noises, we were awaked straight away at liberty, where we in all her trim freshly beheld our royal good and gallant ship righted, and were brought moping hither. It's well done.
Bravely, my diligence. Thou shalt be free.
This is as strange a maze as e'er men trod.
My liege, be cheerful and think of each thing well. Set Caliban and his companions free. There are yet missing of your company some few odd lads that you remember not.
Every man shift for all the rest, and let no man take care for himself, for all is but fortune. Coraggio, bully monster Coraggio.
If these be true spies which I wear in my head, there's a goodly sight.
Oh, Setebos, these be brave spirits indeed. How fine my master is. I'm afraid he will chastise me.
Ah, what things are these, my Lord Antonio? Will money buy 'em?
Very like one of them is a plain fish, and no doubt marketable.
These three have robbed me, and this demi-devil, for he's a bastard one, had plotted with them to take my life. Two of these fellows you must know and own. This thing of darkness, I acknowledge mine.
I shall be pinched to death.
Is this not Stefano, my drunken butler?
Well, he is drunk now. Where had he wine?
Oh, the Trinculo is reeling ripe. Where should they find the grand liquor that hath gilded them?
How camest thou in this pickle?
I have been in such a pickle since I saw you last that I fear me will never out of my bones.
Why, how now, Stefano?
Touch me not, I'm not Stefano, but a crab.
You'd be the king of the isle, sirrah.
I should have been a sore one then.
This is as strange a thing as I e'er looked on.
He is as disproportioned in his manners as in his shape. Go, sirrah, to my cell.
Aye, that I will, and I'll be wise hereafter and seek for grace. What a thrice double ass was I to take this drunkard for a god and worship this dull fool.
Hence, and bestow your luggage where you found it.
Sir, I invite your highness and your train to my poor cell, where you shall take your rest for this one night, which part of it I'll waste with such discourse as I not doubt shall make it go quick away. The story of my life and the particular accidents gone by since I came to this isle. And in the morn, I'll bring you to your ship, and so to Naples, where I have hoped to see the nuptial of these, our dear beloved, solemnized, and thence retire to my Milan, where every third night shall be my grave.
I long to hear the story of your life, which must take the ear strangely.
I'll deliver all and promise you calm seas, auspicious gales, and sails so expeditious that shall catch your royal fleet far off. Ariel, chick, that is thy charge. Then to the elements, be free, and fare thou well. Please you draw near. Now, my charms are all o'erthrown, and what strength I have's mine own, which is most faint. Now, 'tis true I must be here confined by you, or sent to Naples. Let me not, since I have my dukedom gotten, pardon the deceiver, dwell in this bare island by your spell, but release me from my bands, and with the help of your good hands, gentle breath of yours, my sails must fill, or else my project fails, which was to please. Now I want spirits to enforce, art to enchant, and my ending is despair, unless I be relieved by prayer, which pierces so that it assaults mercy itself and frees all faults. As you from crimes would pardon be, let your indulgence set me free.
Oh, yeah.